Welcome back to Sip and Talk. And guess what? I managed to pour my coffee this morning without deploying a spill containment system. That's a win.
That means the day is already going better than most. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to Sip and Talk.
Welcome, Sip and Talkers. We're diving into a really fascinating but intensely complex topic today. It has this strange Jekyll and Hyde quality to it.
It really does, because when you look at Taiwan through, the typical international lens, the news reports, the economic data, all the freedom indices, it's consistently praised.
Well, absolutely. It's the lighthouse of democracy, a global tech hub. I think I saw it ranked as one of Asia's most free places again recently.
Right. The global consensus is one of admiration, and yet the narrative coming from its massive neighbor consistently seems to boil down to one strange, single-minded, and frankly, aggressively dismissive philosophy.
That's the part that's so jarring. It's what we're calling the I don't care narrative.
Exactly. It's this complete unilateral dismissal of Taiwanese reality and all of its achievements. It's a philosophy we really need to deconstruct today.
It's just astonishing when you see it laid out. You look at everything Taiwan has built over decades of hard work, and the response from across the strait is just this pre-programmed dismissal. It just overrides all these universally recognized values.
It's a mechanism that's really designed to nullify legitimacy. So Taiwan has built a multi-party democracy with competitive, free elections, massive voter turnout.
I don't care.
Taiwan has incredibly progressive human rights, like being the first in Asia to legalize same-sex marriage, and they've established robust human rights commissions.
I don't care.
The Taiwanese people have cultivated a distinct, vibrant culture, their own language usage, a uniquely open lifestyle.
Doesn't matter. I don't care.
Taiwanese citizens overwhelmingly and consistently reject unification under the current political conditions.
Nope. I don't care. The single underlying and deeply worrying motto isn't a request for a negotiation. It's a demand for surrender.
I don't care, you must concede to me. And the mechanism used to reinforce this at home is what some researchers have called the narrative infantilization project.
That term is so apt, infantilization. It means they're intentionally simplifying and emotionally charging the issue for their own domestic audience, right?
Exactly. They're reducing a complex geopolitical and human rights situation down to a petulant demand that just has to be met.
So Taiwan's complex, lively elections.
In Chinese state media, they're framed as a chaotic, Western-manipulated farce.
And what about their human rights advances?
Oh, that's just labeled as dangerous Western infiltration that's designed to corrupt society.
And even their biggest economic assets, like TSMC, which basically runs the world's tech.
That gets subjected to this simplistic logic, too.
Right.
It's not described as a result of Taiwanese ingenuity, but as something that should inherently belong to us.
It's a pure assertion of right, without any recognition of the decades of effort or democratic governance that made it possible in the first place.
It's an attempt to render everything that is globally celebrated about Taiwan as worthless, simply because it conflicts with a political goal. But you know what a bully fears the most?
A mirror. A clean, undeniable reflection of reality.
And that is the core thesis of our deep dive today. Taiwan is so much more than just an island. It represents a living, successful, thriving countermodel.
Right. If you're listening to this from outside the region, understanding Taiwan's profound uniqueness is absolutely essential to grasping the true nature of this threat.
We are talking about the most complete, successful, and progressive democracy in East Asia. It's a beacon of multi-ethnic, multilingual development.
And it stands as this powerful demonstration that Chinese-speaking societies can and do achieve robust governance and freedom of expression without authoritarianism. And that's why its very existence is such a challenge.
Yeah, if you try to look at this solely as a political dispute or some old Civil War conflict, you miss the profound human cost and the value conflict at its heart.
It's not just about territory. It's about whose values, freedom, or coercion will guide the future of the region.
So today, our mission is to explore exactly how Taiwan acts as this uncomfortable mirror, exposing the single-sided, violent logic of the bully.
And forcing the global community to seriously question what we truly value in self-determination and, well, global governance.
It's a powerful mission. So let's start by analyzing the brute force demands. We are moving into part one, the anatomy of the bully's threat.
Let's unpack this. If you really distill the cross-strait policy, The conversation is never about how the people of Taiwan might be governed better or more fairly in the future.
No, not at all. It immediately bypasses all of their democratic achievements and jumps straight to the single, non-negotiable demand for unconditional unification.
And that word unconditional is key, isn't it?
It's everything. It's a refusal to recognize the legitimacy of the Taiwanese government or the will of its people. The focus is entirely on military deterrence and absolute political control. It's not a demand for dialogue, it's a demand for surrender.
And when they talk about that, the rhetoric becomes terrifyingly extreme. This isn't just, diplomatic jargon. It's psychological warfare.
It is. It's designed to maximize fear and fatigue, both in Taiwan and internationally. And this rhetoric, which gets amplified through official channels, it really falls into two main, deeply disturbing categories.
Okay, so what's the first one?
The first is targeting people and identity. This is the idea that the people themselves, the Taiwanese people, are the obstacle.
And this is where that chilling concept comes from, right? The one that's been gaining notoriety online. Leave the island, not the people.
Yes. Wait, it's a concept that is just breathtaking in its dehumanization.
I mean, it explicitly frames Taiwanese citizens not as people with rights or choices, but as, movable objects.
Or worse, as targets for cleansing or elimination. The underlying message is snark. We want the territory. The people who resist our ideology are disposable.
Wow. And whether that's serious military planning or just pure psychological terror, it implies massive casualties. It implies the systemic removal and re-education of anyone labeled a stubborn independence force.
It suggests the entire democratic system must be erased and the population ideologically reformed, similar to tragic campaigns we've seen in other regions under centralized control.
The psychological cost of living under that specific, repeated threat, I can't even imagine it. Forcing 23 million people to constantly contemplate their own potential non-existence simply for choosing democracy.
And that brings us to the second category.
Targeting infrastructure and defense. This is about the raw military capability.
Right. It's aimed at overwhelming the island rapidly. This is the saturation bombardment or Mumfree rhetoric.
And when they say saturation, what are we talking about here?
We're talking about the emphasized use of hundreds, possibly thousands, of short-range ballistic missiles. Things like the DF-11 and DF-15 series, all fired simultaneously. The goal isn't just to defeat Taiwan's military, but to achieve complete paralysis.
It's a strategy that's all about speed. They're constantly pushing this idea of a 7-day liberation or a lightning war, right?
Exactly. The claim is that the initial assault would be so brief and overwhelming that international intervention would be impossible or just arrive too late. So they'd hit military bases, communication networks, critical infrastructure like ports and power grids all at once.
Yeah, and what makes this so impactful is that this isn't just some classified strategy document. This rhetoric with these high-def animations of successful missile strikes, it's all over their propaganda videos.
Yes, it's designed to create maximum psychological fatigue and this deep-seated feeling that resistance is completely futile.
But practically speaking, how does this translate to day-to-day life? This is where the gray zone harassment comes in.
That's the perfect transition. Because beyond the extreme language, the I don't care attitude is executed daily through this continuous gray zone activity.
And what is that exactly?
It's continuous low-level aggression that falls just short of the definition of open warfare. It's specifically designed to exhaust and demoralize.
Death by 1,000 cuts, financially and psychologically.
Precisely. Let's look at the data from the recent period, 2024 to 2025. Chinese military jet overflights simulating blockades have reached unprecedented frequencies.
How many are we talking?
Over 2,000 jet sorties in a single year. These aren't just flybys. They are simulating invasion and blockade maneuvers.
That's an insane operational burden.
Yeah.
I mean, think about the direct cost. Taiwan's Air Force, often flying older jets, is forced to scramble constantly. That burns massive amounts of fuel.
Millions of dollars worth annually. But maybe more critically, it taxes the personnel, it increases maintenance backlogs, and it just accelerates the aging of their fleet. It's bullying with an inexhaustible military budget designed to bleed the victim dry.
And this military pressure is happening alongside intense diplomatic isolation.
Beijing pressures Taiwan's remaining allies to switch recognition and actively blocks its participation in almost all international bodies. A crucial example is the CPTPP.
A big trade agreement, right?
Yeah.
The Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership. Why is blocking that so significant?
For Taiwan, joining would provide vital economic diversification away from the mainland. It would cement its integration with other democratic economies like Japan, Canada, and Australia.
So blocking its access is just a pure diplomatic weapon.
It is. It's designed to limit Taiwan's economic maneuvering room and to assert that Taiwan does not have the right to form independent trade relationships.
But the real height of the I don't care attitude, for me, is the economic weaponization. It just reveals the complete self-serving hypocrisy.
Oh, this is the bizarre paradox. You see these sudden, highly publicized bans on specific Taiwanese agricultural products, pineapples, grouper, fish framed purely as political punishment.
Designed to hurt local farmers and cause internal dissent, it's calculated political messaging.
Right. And yet, simultaneously, Beijing remains profoundly dependent on Taiwan for the single most critical component of its industrial and military modernization.
Advanced semiconductors.
That's right. Taiwan's TSMC alone accounts for an estimated 70% of China's chip imports. These chips are essential for everything from their smartphones to their advanced missile guidance systems.
So they're punishing Taiwanese pineapple farmers for political points, while relying on Taiwanese engineers for their entire national future.
That is the definition of self-serving bullying.
So the tangible consequence for Taiwan is just this heavy, perpetual cost to maintain its freedom. We've seen their defense budget rising significantly, recently hitting 3.3% of GDP.
And with targets to reach 5% by 2030, that's money that is being diverted from social programs, from infrastructure, from education, simply to defend their self-determination against this constant, aggressive threat.
It's the price of being the mirror.
And it's a cost they pay daily just to ensure they can exist as they choose.
Okay, so now that we've established the severe brute force logic being used against them, let's flip the lens completely. We need to show the audience why the bully is so terrified. We're moving into part 2. The uncomfortable mirror Taiwan's unquestionable values.
This is the key. The reason Beijing can't just absorb Taiwan without this tremendous international and domestic backlash is precisely because Taiwan's success provides the most powerful, factual counter-narrative to authoritarian claims.
So its continued existence is the mirror. It exposes the political failures and the ultimate lack of legitimacy of single-party rule.
It shows that of global top 12 and first in Asia. That's a quantitative assessment. And the data highlights a perfect score in electoral process and pluralism.
The transition itself was miraculous. After they lifted martial law in 1987, Taiwan didn't descend into chaos. It achieved this peaceful, vibrant transition driven by genuine grassroots participation.
It was a truly organic revolution for freedom. And this is where the mirror shows the sharpest contrast: transitional justice.
Right, so instead of burying the past,
they confront it. Taiwan actively instituted commissions and memorials, most notably for the 228 incident. It takes that historical trauma, acknowledges the wrongs committed by the previous authoritarian government, and uses that painful history to build accountability and democratic education.
That is so profound. A democracy says we acknowledge our past mistakes and we build institutions to ensure they never happen again. It builds trust.
And it's the complete opposite of a regime that suppresses historical wrongs and requires citizens to adhere to an official, sanitized version of history. Taiwan uses history as a lesson in freedom.
Which naturally leads us to Mirror 2, the human rights beacon.
Yes. Taiwan proved that modernization does not require sacrificing social and personal freedom. In fact, it enhances it.
And the prime, globally resonant example has to be LGBTQ+ rights.
Absolutely. Following a landmark constitutional court ruling, Taiwan became Asia's first country to legalize same-sex marriage in 2019. That act sets a moral and institutional standard for the entire continent.
But it's more than just one law, right? They've built institutional safeguards.
They have, like the Independent National Human Rights Commission, established in 2020, with genuine investigative powers. And they proactively work to internalize UN human rights covenants. That means they translate global standards into domestic law and actually invite international scrutiny.
I think we have to ask the critical question, though. Is Taiwan a perfect human rights utopia? Of course not.
No democracy is perfect. The U.S. State Department's reports praise Taiwan, noting the absence of systematic, major abuses. But they also detail challenges, particularly concerning the treatment of migrant workers, which is a known issue.
But the crucial distinction is the ability to acknowledge those shortcomings. For journalists to report on them, for civil society to openly criticize the government without fear of reprisal. That is the democratic strength.
It is. It's the difference between a society that tries to seem perfect by silencing its flaws and one that strives for progress through open critique.
Okay, let's talk about the cold, hard reality of global economics. Mirror 3, global economic indispensability. This is where the bully's "I don't care" logic just crashes head-on with reality.
Right. We have to talk about the Guardians of the Nation cluster, spearheaded by TSMC. Taiwan's dominance in advanced semiconductor manufacturing isn't just a commercial success, it's a global strategic asset.
It's strategic leverage that you can't just easily outsource or replicate, can you?
No. Consider the most advanced process nodes 3 nanometer, 5 nanometer. By 2025, TSMC is projected to control roughly 60% of the entire advanced AI chip market.
And these chips are not just for our iPhones. They're essential for military guidance systems, high-performance computing, the very foundation of artificial intelligence.
So if Taiwan were destabilized or captured, the global economy would face an immediate catastrophic shock. Far worse than any previous supply chain disruption.
We're talking about the effective collapse of the AI pipeline, critical military hardware delays, trillions in economic loss.
The consequence is simple. Taiwan's stability is the prerequisite for global economic security. So a threat to Taiwan is instantly elevated from a regional dispute to a global existential risk.
It makes the "I don't care" approach look completely delusional on a global scale.
Completely.
Finally, let's look at Mirror 4, culture and lifestyle. This is the most fundamental human part of what the Taiwanese people would lose if their society were erased.
It's the essence of daily life, something most of us in free countries take for granted. Taiwan retains the use of traditional Chinese characters, connecting them to thousands of years of heritage. But they also fiercely protect linguistic diversity, Hokkien, Hakka, indigenous languages.
And I love that concept, the siaske sing, the small but certain happiness.
Yes. It embodies a distinctive social contract, a certain pace of life, the amazing night market culture, a community-focused society built on high trust and low surveillance.
You see it in the 24-hour convenience stores that are like community hubs, and the sheer number of book cafes. It's a culture defined by openness and self-critique.
Which is fundamentally incompatible with a centralized party culture built on mandated ideology and collective dogma.
It's the difference between a vibrant society where politicians are relentlessly mocked with memes and a society where critiquing the leadership can get you thrown in prison. That freedom is the very thing being threatened.
That is the value in the mirror.
Okay, so we've established that Taiwan's success is the mirror, but when that light is too bright, the bully, rather than, fixing its own behavior, defaults to misdirection and projection.
That psychological mechanism is key. The entity that is actively engaged in "leave the island, not the people" threats now points at others, usually democratic allies, and loudly accuses them of being the primary threat.
Let's look at the Japan militarism revival smear campaign as a perfect recent example of this. This rhetoric really spiked in late 2025 after Japanese leadership started talking about Taiwan's security more directly.
It was triggered by clear geopolitical calculation in Tokyo. High-ranking Japanese officials like Sanae Takaichi stated publicly that a conflict in Taiwan could genuinely constitute an existential crisis for Japan.
Which isn't belligerence, it's just a geographic and economic fact for them.
Of course. But the aggressive counter-narrative from Beijing was immediate. They accused Japan of trying to revive militarism and break its post-war pacifist constitution.
And the rhetoric escalated dramatically.
It did. State media issued warnings of a crushing blow if Japan dared to intervene, and most alarmingly, they explicitly threatened to manufacture a September 18th Incident 2.0.
For our listeners who might not grasp the gravity of that threat, the original September 18th incident in 1931 was the pretext the Imperial Japanese Army used to invade Manchuria.
Correct. It was the start of the 8-year war against China. So invoking September 18th 2.0 is not just diplomatic sparring, it's weaponizing the most painful memory in modern Chinese history.
Using historical pain to justify their own present-day expansionism. And as a deflection, let's use the mirror here to compare the actions and expose the hypocrisy.
Okay. On one side, you have the actions of the accuser. China maintains the global second highest defense budget, is engaging in massive military expansion, and flies over 2,000 jet incursions near Taiwan.
And they openly threaten civilian populations with "leave the island, not the people" concepts. They are actively destabilizing the regional status quo.
Right. And on the other side, you have Japan's actions. Their posture is fundamentally defensive. They're debating increasing their defense budget from less than 1% of GDP toward 2%.
Which is tiny for a major power. And it's purely because of the expansion of their neighbor. They have no conscription, no military training in schools. They're just reacting to an explicit threat.
So the CCP, which literally threatens to wipe out the democratic achievements of 23 million people, suddenly claims to fear a regional democratic alliance. The Japan danger narrative is just a classic strategic deflection.
And how successful has that been, really?
Not very, thankfully, because the power of the mirror is too strong, the irony is unavoidable. The more Beijing accuses others of militarism, the more its own aggressive, expansionist nature is revealed to the world.
They're trying to define defense as aggression, while defining their own aggression as a historical right. It's a narrative that just can't hold up under scrutiny.
Exactly. And that brings us back to the listener.
We've broken down the bully's logic, we've established Taiwan's undeniable value, and we've seen the deflection. Now we return to the most important element, you. We started this whole discussion by noting that this isn't just a political issue. It's a universal human issue.
So we're asking you, the listener, to engage in a call to empathy. What if this single-sided, I don't care, you must concede to me, logic were applied to your country? It sounds absurd, but this is the daily lived reality for 23 million people.
Let's run the scenario. Imagine you live in a nation that successfully transitioned to a mature, stable democracy. You're a global leader in tech and human rights, but a powerful neighbor decides that none of that matters.
Imagine that powerful neighbor making the following explicit demands of your sovereign democratic nation. I don't care about your democracy. Your government is fake and illegitimate.
I don't care about your vibrant culture, your languages, or your free lifestyle. It must conform to my national ideology.
I don't care if your citizens object. I have unilaterally decided you belong to me as a matter of historical right, and your opinions are completely irrelevant.
And just stop for a moment on the most chilling point. If you don't accept this surrender, I have the right to use overwhelming force and implement a leave the island, not the people strategy.
Think about that carefully. How would you feel if every single day the military of that neighbor sent jets screaming toward your airspace, forcing daily alerts that disrupt school and work?
How would you react if your national identity, which is built on decades of achievement, is constantly called fake news or a Western conspiracy by your neighbor's state-controlled media?
And how would you feel if your country's most remarkable achievements, like leading the world in tech innovation, are dismissed as irrelevant by the very entity that relies on them?
The feelings elicited aren't just fear, it's outrage. It's the sheer sickening absurdity of the threat. Would you see this constant military-backed nullification as a balanced dispute requiring compromise?
Or would you recognize it immediately, and rightly so, as an unprovoked existential threat, as a clear act of invasion?
This is the moment where the geopolitical facade just crumbles. This is not just a cross-strait issue to file away under history.
It is a direct challenge to fundamental human rights, to the principle of self-determination, and to the very foundation of the post-war order that allows most of us to live in peace.
And Taiwan's ongoing resilience. Its choice to respond to military threat with stronger democracy and indispensable technology rather than submission is just a profound testament to the human spirit against this kind of existential bullying.
They're fighting the bully not just with defense budgets, but with the undeniable power of their values. And that choice is the most potent weapon in the mirror.
As we wrap up this deep dive, the final summary is clear. Taiwan is the uncomfortable mirror reflecting the fundamental choice facing the 21st century, the choice between universal value and single-sided violence.
Taiwan isn't demanding an unfair advantage or any special privilege. It's asking for the basic, non-negotiable right of any normal nation: safety, self-determination, and the freedom to exist without being constantly threatened.
We've seen the sheer absurdity of the "I don't care, you must concede to me" logic. It is a demand that a successful democracy, a leading tech power, and a cultural beacon must unconditionally sacrifice its entire way of life.
And that's the conclusion that has to resonate globally. The true radical destabilizing act in the region is the continual, single-minded demand from one regime that 23 million people must unconditionally concede to its will. The international responsibility is clear: to ensure that Taiwan, the successful democratic mirror, keeps shining brightly.
Because if that light of freedom and self-determination is extinguished, the world loses a vital model of resilience and humanity. So, Sip and Talkers, here is our final provocative thought for you to chew on. If a powerful entity can unilaterally decide to redefine reality and dismiss your hard-won achievements and freedoms as irrelevant, how much is your own freedom truly worth?
We encourage you to subscribe to Sip and Talk for more deep dives into complex global issues. And don't forget to check out our friend Micky's YouTube channel, Micky to Life, for some fun memes and the latest travel vlogs.
He's the best.
Before we sign off, a brief but important note. In discussing these geopolitical facts, we are providing objective, documented information for critical thinking and discussion. We are not criticizing or discriminating against any nation, group, or people, but merely aiming to explain the complexities inherent in this situation and promote an informed perspective.
Keep those critical gears turning, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Goodbye, Sip and Talkers.